Okay, we're going to start our session again today. Again, we talked about how important it is to finish the assignments on time. This is the class calendar for this class. Everybody should be done with test number 1 in my math test. And by the end of today, you should be done with test number 2 as well, because we're having our exam, as you can know, for your class this Thursday, and the day after tomorrow, on chapters 2 and 2 to 5. If you don't take a test in my math test, you won't be able to go over the study plan, which you need to concentrate on. As soon as you're done with this take-home test, practice test number 1, then you should take test number 1 in my math test. And these are optional, but you should have a copy of these other prep tests in your portfolio. We talked about the one problem that I posted in the discussion as an extra credit. Debbie replied to this one, and she did graph it individually. This is a system of equations. You have to graph them together. And that was another solution that we have here. And I have a better graph here that I got from one of my students from the other class. So let's go over this one. To graph this, I suggest you just use 2 points. So if I were going to graph the first line here, I would go ahead and make a little chart like that here. I would say if x is equal to 0, I would ask myself, what is y? Okay, anybody who's following this live with me can tell me, can somebody tell me if x equal to 0, if I substitute 0 here for x, what would be y equal to? Anyone? You can either type your answer or grab a mic and let me know if you know. Somebody put -2. Yeah, definitely. If x equal to 0, y would equal to 6 over -3, which is equal to -2. Very good. So this is 1 point for this line here. I need 1 more point. I can find, this is known as y-intercept. I can go ahead and let y equal to 0 and solve for x. Let's do that. If y is equal to 0, what is x, anyone? Anybody who wants to reply to that? If y is equal to 0, then we get -2x equal to 6. So somebody will put -3, absolutely. So that would be -3 would be the, for this one. So this would be my x-intercept. Now if I locate these points here on the graph, x equal to 0, y is equal to -2 would be this point right here. And if x equal to -3, which is this point right here, as you can see, this is how you would graph this line here. This is the graph that we have here. This is the line right there to find these 2 points. Now it looks like this student, instead of doing what I just did, she solved for y and then solved it that way. She solved for y, y is equal to mx plus b. Y is equal to -2 over 3 over x minus 2. -2 is your y-intercept. That's how you can locate this point here. From this point, because the slope is -2 over 3, you can go 2 units up, 3 units to the left, 2 units up, 3 units to the left, you get to the same point that you calculated by using x and y-intercept. Doesn't matter how you graph the line, using y is equal to mx plus b or finding 2 points. Once you have this line here, the question is, the solution is to above this line or below this line? Can somebody tell me, if you know, how to find out whether the solution is above or below the line?
You would substitute 0 for x and y.
Good, very good. That's called test point. You don't have to have 0. You can pick any points on the graph and test that. The easier point would be 0, 0, because that's easy to calculate. So I'm going to use the test point 0, 0. I'm going to mark it right here. My graph is not passing through 0, 0, so that would be the best point to test. So if I go ahead and substitute for each x 0 and each y 0, I can find out whether that is the solution for that inequality. So if I substitute 0 here and 0 here, then I would get 0 less than 6. Does that make sense that 0 is less than 6? Sure, 0 is less than 6. So it means the solution must be above this line. That's why we're shading the solution. If I only had this line here, the rest of the solution would be above this line also. But when I do the same thing for the other line, we find 2 points. You can go ahead and find 2 points like I did for the other line. Let's actually do that for practice. So if I go ahead and find 2 points here, if I let x equal to 0, you can see y would be equal to 2. That's why we get this point right there. If I let y be equal to 0, solve for x, that would be 1. So that would be my other point. This would be my line. Again, it's dotted line because it's equal to. And if I use the same test point here for the second line, 0 less than 2, that still is good. So it means the solution would be below this line, above this line. So the intersection would be all the points between these regions would be the solution to this system of inequality. So this is how you would solve system of inequality when you have two inequality like that. Okay, this is one of the problem from the sample final exam. Also, I posted in the discussion forum, and somebody received extra credit for answering this correctly. For this problem, we need to know the formula for difference and sum of cubed. So this is a difference of cubed. Okay, so everybody write this down in your notes and transfer it into your summary sheet. And at the same time, I'm going to do a cubed plus b cubed. They're very similar. Pretty much you have to memorize this. We're going to open two parentheses like that. And the terms are the same for both of them. This would be a, b, a, b. And for the second parentheses, you square the first term, and you square the last term. Anybody remember what we're going to put on the middle term? What are we going to put in for the middle term, anyone?
A negative.
Not the sign. What would be the term? The first term is a squared. The last term is b squared. What would be this middle term? There's a term is missing here. Anybody remember? Okay, you need to talk a little bit louder.
A times b.
A times b, very good. It's ab. So the middle term is a b. So first of all, you need to know the terms. Now we're going to worry about the sign. Okay, the sign of first parentheses always would be the same as the sign of what we have. So here we have minus. The sign here would be minus. Here this is plus. The sign would be plus. So that's easy to remember. Okay, if the sign of the first parentheses is minus, the sign for the second parenthesis would be all plus. Something you have to remember. If the sign for the first parenthesis is plus, then the sign alters between plus and minus. Plus, minus, plus. Okay, this is what you need to memorize first when you have a difference of cubed or sum of cubed. Okay, let me go ahead and clear everyone's check mark here and ask everyone to put the check mark in front of your name. If you are okay up to this point, you have this down in your summary sheet. Okay, so now we need to identify which one is A, which one is B. So we have 125 A cubed. The question is, can I make this as cube of something? A, I know if I cube A, I get A cubed. How about 125? Can I multiply a number 3 times by itself? I would get 125. What's that number? Somebody says 5. Yeah, absolutely 5. So 5 times 5 times 5 would be 125. Yes. So the first term is A, 5A. That's my first term. That's my A. What would be my second term, anyone? The second term is, you can just put your answer in the box. Somebody says 2. Well, 2 is 2 times 2 times 2 would be 8. How about B? Yeah, 2B. Very good. So 2B is the second term. There we have it. So that's all we need to do is substitute that into this formula here. So in this case, I'm going to open 2 parentheses. First term, or A, goes into the first term here. But my first term is not A here. My first term is 5A, so I have to put 5A here. Second term goes there. My second term is 2B. And the sign is minus. Okay, now, to complete the second parentheses, I have to take the first term and square it. We agreed that first term is 5A, so this would be 5A squared. That's how to square that. Then I'm going to put plus here. You can add the formula. And then the middle term would be the product of A and B. Product of these 2 terms. This is my A, this is my B. Product of these 2. So I'm going to write it as 5A times 2B. Okay. Now, my last term would be plus the second term square. The second term is 2B. I have to square that. So I'm almost done. So this would be 5A minus 2B. And then here would be 5A squared. What's 5A squared? 5 times 5 would be 25. A squared. A squared. Plus, when I multiply these terms together, I get 2 times 5 is equal to 10 AB plus the last term squared would be 4B squared. The second parenthesis is always prime, so you cannot factor this anymore. Although it may look like that, you can factor, but you can't. So if you look at and compare which one is the correct answer here, I have 5A minus 2B, which is right here. And looks like that the correct answer is D in this case. Correct answer is D. So you would circle D as the correct answer right there. Okay, here is a sample, a final example problem number 11. Here we want to solve for t, and the first step is to factor this. So do we have anything in common between those terms? Anybody? What do we have in common between 9 and 64? 9, yeah. Somebody says 9t. Very good. 9t is in common. So I'm going to factor that out. Open the parentheses. Ask myself, what times 9t give me the first term? So it looks like it would be t to the power of 2, or t squared. And then I put minus, what times 9 give me 64?
7.
7. And then that's it, right? And then I can close the parentheses equal to 0. Can I factor this even more? What is 9 times 7? 63. So it's not 7, right? So what is that? So it's a 7. So how do you factor that? Anybody? has 64. So 9 is not in a common between those terms, then, right? Everybody agree with that? 9 is not common. So we're going to take that out. So we only have t in common, right? So we only have t in common. Very good. So here we have 9 t squared minus 64. That's how you factor. Okay, make sure everybody okay with this part so far. All right. So now I have to see if I can factor this even more. Is this factorable? 9t squared minus 64. One other factor that we should know and include it in your notes, just like we did with the difference and sum of cubed, is a difference of square. This is going to show up quite a bit when you factor. What is a squared minus b squared? Anybody remember that? To factor, just called difference of square. So this would be a minus b times a plus b, right? Do we have a difference of square here? Is this a square of something? Is this a square of something? Well, it is a difference for sure. So looks like it is. 3t would be the square of 9t squared. How about 64? Somebody posted already 8. 8 times 8 is 64. So it is a difference of square. So I can factor this as a minus b times a plus b. But except your a is not a, it is 3t here. Your a is 3t and your b is 8. And then I'm going to, don't forget this t is still here, we already factored it out. This is how you factor that. Okay, so once you factor this completely like that, then you can let each of these be equal to 0 and then solve for t. So the first term is t is equal to 0, that's one solution. Or 3t minus 8 is equal to 0, I can solve for t by adding 8 to both sides of the equation and dividing both sides of the equation by 3. That's my second solution. Or 3t plus 8 equal to 0. If I subtract 8 from both sides of the equation, I get 3t is equal to minus 8. So t is equal to minus 8 over 3. So I get 3 solutions. We expect to get 3 solutions because it's the third order equation. The 3 indicates to get up to 3 solutions. So the solutions are 0, 8 over 3, minus 8 over 3, and looks like C, in this case, is the correct answer here for this problem. So I'm going to say C, that's the correct answer. Okay, we're going to do one of the mixture problems from practice test number 1. Go ahead and read the question for us, please.
The solution contains 15% chemicals. How many liters of the solution must be mixed with another solution with 10% chemicals to make 10 liters of solution containing 12% chemicals?
Okay, very good. So over here, you could show these boxes here indicate that you need to combine 2 different types of chemicals to ultimately get what we need here. Here it says the solution contains 15% chemical. And it says how many liters of a solution must be mixed. So I'm going to call this X liter. I don't know how many liter I'm going to use. With another solution with 10%. Another solution, I don't know what it is, but I know the strength is 10%. to make 10 liter. Ultimately, I know the total amount would be 10 liter here, and you want 10 liter of the solution that contains 12%. So this is, we're going to label what we know. In this case, we ultimately want to have 12 liters of 12% solution. Okay. What else we know? A solution contains 15%. Another thing we know is we know the strength for this also is 15%. So we know the strength here. We know the strength that we are adding. We're adding two different strengths to ultimately get 12% out of that. We know the total amount is 10 liter. We don't know the amount of liter that we're going to use here. So can you tell me what it is that we need to use here? How many liters can we have to use here for this other one? Anybody can tell me that?
10 minus x.
Yeah, because the total is 10. I cannot exceed 10. And then I've already used x liter for the 15% strength. So the rest would be 10 minus x, which would be the 10% that I am going to use. But we can understand this chart here that we have. You can either use this chart, or you can use this chart, this kind of chart. You can say, all right, A would be 15%. We're using x liter. B would be 10%. We're using x, 10 minus x. So really, we're talking about A and B. This would be the solution A. This is the solution B. That's what we have. Okay. All right, so the equation would be then 15% times x plus 10% times 10 minus x equal to 12% times 10. Right, so we can divide each term by 100 to get 0.15, 0.1, 0.12. You can multiply each term by 100 to eliminate the decimal. So you ultimately, everybody can see we get this equation. 15x plus 10 times 10 minus x equal to 12 times 10. That would be the equation we need to solve for x. And once I do that, that would be the amount I'm going to use for the 15% strength there. So in this case, we get 15x plus, if I distribute this, I get 100 minus 10x is equal to 120. So basically, I just have to solve for x. Here, 15x minus 10x, that gives me a total of 5x. If I subtract 100 from both sides of the equation, I get 5x is equal to 20. So what is x is equal to? 20 over 5. 4, so don't forget the unit. So 4 liters. So 4 liters we're going to use for 15% strength. So the rest goes to the B, which is 10 minus 4, which would be 6 liters. And you can check to see adds up. It sure does. 4 liter plus 6 liter adds up to 10 liters, and everything is working out right here. Okay, class, don't forget we're going to have our first on-campus exam Thursday. Make sure to complete the test number 1 and 2 in my math test, and complete the practice test. Bring all your solution. We don't need the Scantron for this test. It's just paper and pencil. So that's all you need to do. Bring your portfolio, including your portfolio, your practice test, your summary sheets, and do complete test number 1 and 2 in my math test and practice that. And it's going to be in the same room that we met in for the first day.
So we are meeting this Thursday? I thought you had said we weren't meeting this Thursday and we're going to do it online.
This Thursday is going to be the first on-campus test. Everybody must attend on campus.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. So everybody meeting this Thursday on campus to take test number 1 at 2 o'clock sharp, please. Everybody must be there at 2 o'clock. If you can come a little bit earlier, that would be good. The room number, everything is already posted. I would make another announcement to everyone in class and also email everyone in case if they're not here. But tomorrow I'm going to be in the session, 8 o'clock session. Anybody wants to log in, you're welcome to bring your questions there.